Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us both in person and virtually. I'm Nancy Alonso, and I'm the current president of the Loyola University Latino Alumni Board, and I'm a proud Loyola alumna. I'm delighted to be here with all of you today. Now that we're moving past the pandemic, it's really nice to have events in person as well as virtually. Let me talk a little bit about LULAT. Okay, I want to introduce the organization to you. Our board is focused on living our mission of creating value for our community as well as current students by providing personal and professional development sessions like the one that we're going to have tonight. In addition to that, we also are big believers in supporting our students, and therefore we sponsor an endowed scholarship. And any donations that you make to the lab, the money goes directly into the scholarship. I want to talk a little bit about some events that we're having that are coming up. The first one is Rambler Rally, and that's on March 21st. So that's a virtual event where we try to really have donations made to our scholarship. So take a look at that. And then as well as on May 1st at 6:30 up at the Lakeshore campus, we're going to welcome our graduating Latinos this year. So we're super excited about that. We started these types of seminars back in September during Hispanic Heritage Month, and we enjoy having distinguished alums that have expertise in various areas. And so tonight we're super excited to have 3 entrepreneurs with us that happen to be also Loyola alums. In addition to that, I do want to talk a little bit about our moderator tonight, because I feel that he's been a very special and instrumental part of the board. His name is Angel Ruby Navarino. He's a current Loyola student, and when he graduated from high school, he went to Arupa College and then moved on to continue his studies here at Loyola. He has been our student ambassador for the last year, the first one ever. So next student ambassador is going to have big shoes to fill. So thank you for everything, because Angel is graduating this coming May, and he's going to have a degree in political science and global studies. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming again, both virtually and here on campus. And I'm going to give it over to you, Angel.
Testing. Okay, this is working. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Nancy, for that wonderful introduction. I really feel honored and privileged to be a part of LULAB, and I hope to join the board once I graduate. I'm very excited to do that. This is work that I'm passionate about. We need to empower our students. We need to move our communities forward, and doing things like this really does pave that way for our students. So I just want to thank the entire Latino Alumni Board. I have learned so much from you guys, and I continue to learn from you guys. And you know, it's just, you guys are truly the exemplification of leadership. So I really appreciate you guys. With that being said, and all the praises, I'm really excited today to have 3 distinguished panelists who have gone and become entrepreneurs, and they're going to drop some real knowledge for us today. Again, thank you for everybody who's tuning in virtually. I'm going to do my best to keep this conversation flowing naturally, so I'm very excited. With that being said, I'm going to just let the panelists introduce themselves. I'm very excited to learn from them, and you know, let's get some real golden nuggets from them. So I'll turn it over to whoever would like to go and introduce themselves first.
Hello, my name is Michelle Velasquez, and I am the founder of Virtual Wealth Building. I am a money coach. I help Latina moms build wealth and build generational wealth for their children, and just really change their lives so they can have time to do whatever it is, travel, plan retirement, and just any future goals. And so I also do some business coaching as well.
Hello, everybody. My name is Camilo Ferro, pronouns he, him. Thank you very much for having us here. I am the founder of Earth to Earth, and we are a platform that's utilizing technology and software to solve some everyday environmental crises, such like the abundance use of plastic and diverting food scraps from land. Thank you for having me today.
And I'm Edith Berrios, and I am an educator, racial needs facilitator, and integration attorney. I am the owner of the Berrios company, and we work on the intersection of diversity, inclusion, and citizenship.
Thank you guys for introducing yourselves. Let's get right into it. So I'd like to start out by asking Michelle, Camilo, and Iris, how did you guys decide to really become your own bosses and lead your own companies? What inspired you? What did the process look like? Walk us through what your mentality was at that time.
I can go and take it. I kind of fell into it. My family, when they came here from Colombia, my dad had his own rental car business. And I grew up around a small business operator, and just being around that small business, I naturally knew I was meant to love business. And when I came into school at Loyola, I studied criminal justice, so my thought was always to kind of go about that Michelle went, because we went to school together, and to go into the criminal justice field. But when I was in school, you gotta realize you got stuff to pay for, you gotta live on this college budget. I started working at a rental car agency at Enterprise Rental Car, and once again, it kind of built me into the small business world, and I realized immediately after graduating college that that's what I wanted to continue to do.
Well, for me, it was a complete opposite. I wanted to not be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to run my own business. I didn't want to do any of the above. Like Camilo said, I also studied criminal justice and I went to law enforcement route, which I still am. I'm a federal officer and I'm a lawyer. But along my journey, my father passed away. It was just a lot of financial, it was just a mess, to say the least. So I was the only unmarried daughter at the time. And in our culture, a married daughter normally becomes house mom, that we. And so I had to really learn in managing my family finances. And I was like, I have a master's, like I know nothing about personal finance. This is not my thing. And so I just fell into it. I had to learn about it through that experience. So that was the first thing. In law enforcement, there was some high suicide rates across the country in different places. And so at Homeland, they actually allowed us to do a financial program. Loved it, fell in love with it. My husband and I did it. And at that moment, husband and I had separate finances. After the program, we decided, you know what, we're more powerful together. We merged, became debt free. And then I was like, I truly felt God calling me to coach. God was like, you already did it. Now you got to teach others to do it. And I said no for like 2 years. I was like, no, Lord, I have kids. My husband has a business. This is not for me. But I just felt that God, I kept getting interruptions in my life. And God was like, this is what you're going to do, like some bad interruptions in my life. I would literally get woken up at 3 a.m. by the Holy Spirit, go to my Bible devotional, and God was like, trust me, do this. And one day I literally cried and I surrendered. I said, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, then you better open up the doors. And so I did, and here I am.
That's awesome. That's awesome because I could totally identify with that. Like, I'm 80s and I am Puerto Rican, I'm queer, I'm a woman of color who's neurodiverse. I love to skate, I'm an educator. So I was someone who was extremely avoidant of the private and corporate sector, big or small. To me, the private sector meant lack of care, empathy, or awareness. I knew competing in Model UN and the non-governmental organization side of the world. At the time, it felt like it was my calling. I set out to make a career for myself in nonprofit after having been involved with non-governmental organizations for over 15 years. Gutierrez Berrios and Company operates at the intersection of diversity, inclusion, and citizenship, which allows me to address a specific niche market of allies, organizations, individuals, businesses, and immigration legal services providers, as well as service seekers. I never imagined myself in a position like that. Throughout my time in Chicago, I have felt small and unworthy. In spite of my tremendous success as an immigration attorney, I was never formally allowed into management and decision-making tables. Losing my job in July of 2020 meant I needed to do something different and provide for myself. To my surprise, people and companies need my work for much more than petitioning for immigration-related paperwork. They need my services to determine how to engage if they are an ally in need of direction, a student or attorney in need of coaching, a business or organization of transitioning that is in need of transitioning from silence as it pertains to matters of citizenship, or even a racial healing circle to get the conversation started. Did you know that citizenship itself is what continues to segregate us in this country?
Thank you for that. I mean, just hearing your guys' story, it sounds like you guys had to stay resilient through this entire process. You know, hearing your stories reminded me of like finding your identity, finding what your strengths are, harnessing those and turning them into what y'all have turned into your companies today. Do you guys think you guys can discuss a little more what that process was like? How did you guys find resiliency in your struggles of becoming an entrepreneur? What were the biggest challenges?
I think for me was not only the 9 to 5, where my husband runs a business, I'm a mother of 4. So just trying to find what we call balance, right? As women and still being the mom and doing homework and the dinner and the physical chores, right? And trying to manage all of that. So for me, has always been that was something that I had struggled with. And I still do because my husband also owns a business. So then we say this into ourselves when we're together and who's the driver right now, right? Like sometimes it's time for him to grow his business. Sometimes it's time for me to grow my business. And so having that communication with your spouse, if you're both entrepreneurs, is really critical. And understanding I'm an alpha, I'm an alpha woman. For me, it's really hard to take a step back. And I really had to learn that because I also need to allow my husband to be the CEO that he needs to be for his business. And so having that communication, especially if you're married, is very critical.
I think through my years of starting a startup from a technology that I didn't understand and had to learn by kind of just getting thrown into the pack of wolves. The biggest, and then from starting something from complete scratch to buying a franchise and just experiencing these different ventures, the one thing that has been the constant is, or the most difficult thing is understanding your own confidence and just realizing that if you have your own confidence to do it, you should bet on yourself every single time, no matter what. And that is, if I would have known that if I had the confidence that I would have in my early 30s when I started the business, I wouldn't have gotten taken advantage of, getting all the money stolen, and all these issues and mistakes that you do because you simply don't have confidence in yourself to know that you can do the job. So that is definitely a big challenge. And then the other challenge is when you're starting something, just the unknown. Depending on where you are at this time in your venture, you're most likely either going at it by yourself or you're starting something completely brand new that's never been done before. And just be ready to know that you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, and just be prepared to pivot and adjust to get you where your end goal is. Those are two of the just kind of initial challenges. There's a lot more, and I think we can probably spend 3 hours talking about challenges, but these are just the two from that I think are so important, but really comes down to just the confidence and knowing that you're gonna get told no time and time again, but you have to have that internal drive to know that this is what my goal is.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Camilo. I think that whole being able to trust your gut. I think as a woman of color, the biggest challenge that I have faced is the societal pressure to give myself and my talents for either very, very cheap or for free. I was raised in an environment where I was led to believe that the more I work and sacrifice, the more value I will derive. But I was not being promoted and I was still living paycheck to paycheck. The lack of access to financial capital is a huge stressor for business owners, especially business owners of color. It creates a palpable barrier between what we want and what we think we can do. I'm here to tell you that you can overcome these challenges, that you can take advantage of the fact that entrepreneurs of color are over-mentored and underfunded. And most importantly, that sometimes you are the one standing in your own way. It's been so refreshing to address day-to-day matters embedded in citizenship, DEI, and law in a way that I thought was impossible. It's a way that gives me, my team, the volunteer consultants, and clients the energy to keep going and keep growing. We may not have generational wealth, but we know how to make do with what we have. It just takes that trust.
Thank you for that. I think that's super powerful. Believing in yourself, finding balance, as you were saying, leading into your confidence, and taking those barriers that you have encountered and turning the table over, really. What are some of the habits that you guys picked up during the process of building your business that allowed you to overcome those obstacles and, you know, get through those technicalities that all of you were discussing?
Being consistent, planning your time wisely. Block scheduling is good for me. That allows me to, I have 3 goals that I set myself to date. But realistically, I need to accomplish 1. But I still start with 3. And so for me, it's having that plan so I can still be mom. I'm gonna be a soccer coach for my 2nd grader. So still be mom, right? Still run a business. And just find that balance and have that relationship with my husband and with God. And incorporate all of that.
Going back to what I mentioned earlier, and I'm probably gonna talk about this a lot, is the confidence, and that ties into specific habits is a lot of our own mental health. Because in a lot of our entrepreneurial journeys, as I mentioned, you go at it alone. And if you don't practice on some of the mental health things that involve meditation, journaling, continue to educate yourself, visualizing. Oh, I cannot tell you how important visualizing is. Please visualize your goals. Everything you possibly can. You want that career, you want that goal, you want that house, put it as big as you can in front of you and visualize it at all times. So keep that habit moving because a lot of it does come down to your own mental work. The other thing that's very important is continue to stay adaptable and flexible. Because as you're starting your journey, it's not a well-oiled machine yet. So you need to understand where you might need to fix and adjust and go where the market is going without losing. The other thing that's important is your own passion and drive to what you want to get accomplished. Because in the darkest of days, if you know inside you that this is what you're meant to do and this is what you're calling to Michelle's point and to Edith's point on helping, it doesn't matter. You're gonna go through those dark days over and over again. You're gonna wake up the next morning, smile on your face, knowing it's okay. I love what I do. I don't mind it. So those are some of the crucial habits.
So for me, habits were not built into my life, probably ever. So it was really interesting because my therapist and I have been working with myself and getting myself to a bunch of habits. If you don't have a habit, going to bed, waking up, get on one. It's important for your body and your health. But what are the 3 most important habits? Functioning from a place of solidarity rather than charity, transparency and communication, as well as boundaries and taking care of yourself. So in terms of functioning from a place of solidarity rather than charity, for us, we're in this together. We get to know our clients, team, and volunteer consultants deeply so that their experience in the job matches what they get over their lives and professional careers. Transparency and communication means that mistakes happen. People get sick, timelines shift, and the important thing is to communicate as those shifts happen. To learn when to do that, scheduling, delegation, and ultimately eliminating whatever is not mutually beneficially according. This includes when billing. And boundaries and taking care of yourself includes when we come from perfectionist-seeking backgrounds that produce anxiety to keep going and going and going and going. Becoming a business owner may definitely worsen that. the reality of business is that it is like another something that you're taking care of. Plus, it eventually has its own set of bills and credit. Resting, eating, sleeping, and caring for yourself are essential to the business just as much, even maybe more, than working and producing money. The problems of work and money will always be waiting for us in capitalist society. Your business needs a clear-minded, healthy leader, and eventually a healthy team. Care for your team as much as you care for yourself or more. Co-creation unlocks infinite potential.
Thank you for those answers. I hear a lot about you guys' confidence and navigating through that. How does your identity play a role in how you approach your confidence or challenges in your business?
So, this question just asked to me last night, kind of what some of my identities are. My first response immediately was entrepreneur. And that's just something that's so ingrained in me and how I am and was raised around that. And then my Hispanic, being Colombian, when my family came here with nothing, my old man built this business from nothing. And it was always, we had to fight for everything, always fighting, no matter what, you always have to fight. Nothing was ever just given to us. So that's kind of the same fight that I had in me to continue to go after my goal, continue to make sure that everybody in this room start composting. Probably not everybody's composting, right? So that and just knowing that inside of you, that's kind of the goal that you're trying to do. With that fight and that grit and that grind, it's internal. It's something that's in us. From coming from here, from Colombia, for coming to the U.S. without that.
I think along the line of what Camilo said, every morning I wake up knowing that I have a chance. I have a chance to start over. I have a chance to start fresh. And we grew up with strong ethics in our culture. It's a cultural thing, right? Like we come from hardworking parents. We know that we're gonna make it happen. Sometimes people joke with me about it. How about if business doesn't work? Or I said, you know what? I have a husband that he's gonna do, right? Because we know we're gonna make it happen. So, those affirmations, not only do we struggle like within ourselves as the entrepreneurs, but also with our clients, right? Like mine is just Latina mom. So that hurdle, just saying coaching, what's coaching? Right? Just that mindset. So I actually work a lot on mindset with my clients because, the mindset that we grew up with and trying to tackle that to be able to move forward to then step into the man or woman that God has called me to be. So that's something that I do daily. I work on affirmations for myself. I give them to my clients, work on affirmations for themselves. And it's something that it's really important to build that confidence, to step out of the fear, to know that you can do it.
So for me, it has to be naturally me. And I think my identity, I came out of the closet much later in life. I think my identity was kind of kept away from me in a little sense. And I was living in a world of, pretending to be something that I wasn't. And owning and having ownership of myself, my story, where I come from, and not only being proud of that and taking the good and the bad from that, but making it so that it's important for the long-term growth. So that I can be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. So my motivation every day is long-term growth regardless of citizenship status. And I made sure that whatever I was doing was so naturally me that it could become an ecosystem of its own. And that's actually what's happened. And I love it. I think it's been the taste of liberation.
Thank you guys so much for those answers. I think this just directly flows into the next question. I have heard a lot of students that are experiencing this right now, across campus, and that's something called imposter syndrome. Have you all experienced that? Now that you guys spoke a little bit about, grit, resilience, balance, identity, and the importance of affirmations, what advice would you give to somebody who's feeling like they're not qualified for something, or have you experienced that, and what ways did you overcome that?
Absolutely. Switching, pivoting careers, right, within law enforcement to the business and financial coaches is a big change. Am I good enough? When I first started coaching, like, are women gonna want my service? Are women gonna need this? I would kind of question myself. And I would remind myself, I actually had clients that have left me, we work a lot with voice notes. And I have one client in particular that left me this beautiful message, and she said, wow, you changed my life, my marriage, because her and her husband were on separate finances, and she said, but my children. And so when that little voice comes in, I'm always sure to listen to that voice note of that one client that she left me a beautiful message of how, when we started and how we ended. So absolutely, that imposter syndrome, or sometimes, we have clients to roll for it. Sometimes they're high, sometimes they're low. And so in those moments to remember, I am good enough, I am capable, right? And so for me, it works, and I love it.
I'm gonna have to agree with Michelle over there. It's just so important to really center on what it is that you need to accomplish to get yourself going, because it is really, really challenging to face whatever it is. It really is, depending on whoever it is that you're talking to and whatever is gonna come out of what's happening in the conversation. And you need to be able to not only be in community with that person and talk and be respectful and address what's being said or done or whatever, but also do it in a way that affirms you and your business, so that you can ideally, right, derive some more mutual substantive benefits from one another in a way that builds growth and collaboration.
I think the fake it till you make it kind of mentality. I live that all the time. I mean, I'll live it tomorrow on the sales call that I have, right? I mean, it's something that just, if you're confident what you're selling or what you're talking to, either with a customer or a vendor or a potential new relationship, the key to all of that is just being passionate what you're talking about. And knowledgeable. At the end of the day, the human being that you're talking to is gonna wear their pants the exact same way you're wearing them. So just keep that always in mind, that if that person's got more experience or more knowledge, it's okay. There's nothing, they were where you were 10 years ago or a year ago or 5 years ago, whatever that may be, but just realize that it's the journey that's gonna get you there. Because once you get there, you will look back and you will wish, oh, that was a lot of fun. Oh, that was exciting. And just keeping that in mind and always going one step forward. If you take one back, it's okay if you can jump 2 forward. And just acknowledging that and being aware. There's time and time again where you might not have the answer to something, and there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. There is only be aware of it and let them know, whatever the context may be. I don't have that answer for you right now. I'm gonna get back to you. There is absolutely nothing wrong in all the sales calls and all the meetings I've ever been in. It's never back up. Because you own it and be honest.
That is incredible. I think a lot of students are going to value this advice just because of the times that we're in, social media and all the information that's coming at you. It's just, it could be a lot for folks. And especially with what's happening, in society right now and the transition from the pandemic, I think a lot of folks are starting to feel that as well. I guess now that we have gone through sort of the difficulties and challenges and sort of the origins of where this all started, I want to ask you guys, what has been your most favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
The freedom, the freedom of just being able to do what you want. Obviously, freedom, you got customers and that you need to take care of that, right? But just the ability to create the freedom that I want for my wife and I. If we want to go travel or go see something, we can go do that. And then the other big thing too is in an entrepreneur, because by being an entrepreneur, you're starting something new. There is no inside the box. Everything, most of the time, is outside the box. So when you start thinking outside the box, you start doing things outside the box. And it starts leading you into different avenues that you would have never imagined, would have never thought that you would fall into. For an example, you know, I started doing work in some, with the State Department doing some small business work that had nothing to do with compost. Completely random, it was just an opportunity that came up. Fast forward 6 months, I'm in Bangladesh, understanding the entrepreneurship that's happening in the country. So to be able to experience that and see that, if I would have been working a 9 to 5 or something that's so rigid, I would have never been able to go and travel and go see this country that's beautiful and growing. I would never experience that. So a lot of just outside the box, because where you're grinding and you're hustling, you're trying to scrap out whatever you can. You're trying to get a client here, a customer here, go speak here, and it's just different opportunities are going to come arise. So the freedom and an outside the box opportunities.
I came up with the word liberation. The liberation is my favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur. I mean, during one of our challenging months, I mean, there was sickness and burnout going around. No business is immune from those. I was able to come up with an incentive for contractors to stay home. And a bonus when contractors wanted to work safe. Being able to recognize my own humanity has allowed me to come up with solutions that have both been profitable and multilaterally beneficial.
So for me, something that I've enjoyed is knowing that I'm changing the lives of individuals and their families is a big self-satisfaction for me, because I wish that my father passed. I wish that my father would have had somebody like me to coach him in his business. And so I'm super passionate about coaching individuals and with their small businesses because of that. It's such a motivator. But the second thing, like Camilo said, is freedom. You know, even though I have the 9 to 5, I'll take, well, recently I took 3 weeks of leave without pay, right? Because I'm able to now. I have that ability, the financial stability to be able to do that. I have 4 kids. I took 6 months off, not paid, right? Because now I have that ability. There's times in the summer that I'm like, I just want to take Fridays off to my kids. Or hey, I'm taking a half day today or whatever, to be able to have that ability to do that. So that goes definitely along the lines of freedom.
That's so interesting to hear the 9 to 5 aspect of it, because yes, being an entrepreneur is liberating, but how do you balance that with 9 to 5? And what are you actually able to do with that? I think that was a very interesting, insightful observation. So I really appreciate that. You know, I guess, you know, to kind of close things off, 2 last questions for y'all. Y'all have been amazing. What is something exciting that you all are working on, and what are you looking forward to in the future?
And running in something, excuse me,
Okay.
because I gotta get the book.
Oh, you go, yeah. I guess if you start with the book, yeah.
So, I'm one of the authors of Latinas in Finances, and we are having our meeting virtual launch. So this is something that is happening April 27th. So I want to plug that in, but I'm also working on right now some books for children. I'm working on a series of 4 books and honoring each of my children. So to help children learn about, and my son's here, my 9-year-old Marty's here, to teach them. We gotta teach them at a young age, right? Like high school is too late sometimes, college is too late. I'm dealing with adults that are struggling with budgeting. Right? And so when we start making this normal, when we have these conversations, when we bring in our children, you know, we're changing different lives. So for me, that's some of the projects I'm launching an online course soon, of budgeting, because that is the biggest struggle that I see my clients face. So that should be coming hopefully in the next month.
For me, it's been a growing into instructional designing and a racial healing circle facilitation at GBHC. We're also in the process of democratizing our workplace. My day never looks the same, but now I just don't have to hide and take naps. I get to do more than give access to information related to communication, and I get to inspire my team to be better, bring forth ideas, and call me out when I'm wasting their time getting too bossy or they have a better idea. They've taught me that we need to diversify the table always. Yes, the hierarchy exists, and I'm not a trained leader. I never had that kind of access. Because I recognize that I don't know everything and that I am not expected to, I get to write the law on one end, and on the other, I can plant seeds as relate in solidarity and around matters of citizenship. I can engage creatively in conversations at the intersection of race, citizenship, cannabis, and instructional design, and still represent clients, but I relate to them as investors and colleagues. When they get their papers, sometimes so much time has passed that we have become friends. It allows me to engage in both deficit frame side of the narrative, as well as the work, the progress, and the dedication that it takes to look forward to a better future, one of solidarity. Diversifying my load in that way, one that involves both reasonable brain, but also creativity and spirit, have been a key change to my day-to-day routine. And I simply love what I do. And whatever you decide to do, just love what it is that you do.
That's amazing. To piggyback, I mean, you can clearly tell both of their passions and what they love to do, and that's the same with me, and that's why I've been doing it for so long now. Early and then sustainability is kind of the tree hugger. I love being able to look at sustainability and understanding that we've got one planet and we really need to start taking care of it. But also understanding that capitalism is a true form of society. That's the society we live in, and we just need to start intersecting both of those at a bigger scale. It's already happening. I'm sure if you haven't heard, benefit corporations, legal entity you can form when in your bylaws you have to have a triple bottom line, people, planet, profit. So I think that's very exciting because there's more and more of that realization that let's make all the money in the world, but you cannot be affecting the communities you're in, you cannot be affecting the planet itself. And then I guess for the plugs of what specifically I'm working on is two companies. One of them is a technology that comes from the Hong Kong government that essentially breaks down plastic at the manufacturing level. So that's very exciting. And the second one is in tune with the composting, because I'm gonna ask a question. Out of everybody here and at the home, sorry, we can't ask you, but raise your hand if you're composting. We have one person out of 15 people in the room, right? And that happens to be my lovely wife. So we're working on a platform to connect those dots, because if we all live in the city or in the surrounding suburbs, we can all compost and very easily. So we're essentially creating the Yelp version for the composting industry. So those are two very exciting products that we're working on.
Wow, y'all, like that's just awesome. We got somebody running the book, somebody running, racial healing circles, and somebody like getting into the whole sustainability industry. This is so exciting. I really appreciate y'all coming out today. I do want to add one more thing. Is there anything else that you would like to let our audience know about you, or is there something, final message that you want to leave them with today?
I'll start. Absolutely. As a coach, don't minimize your experience. I hear it a lot, even with the clients, I hear a lot with students. Well, I don't have enough experience. I haven't worked long enough, right? I don't think I know too much, whatever. Don't minimize your experience. So that's the first thing. The second thing is take opportunities. Take an opportunity. Today we're here, we're gonna mingle for a little bit, get to know us, talk to people, network. Continue to build your networks and your partnerships. Camilo and I, like you said earlier, we came to college 20 years ago, right? And so now we're here, we're both business owners. I'm sure we'll connect eventually and see how we can work together in some way. And the third thing is invest in yourself. Whether it's reading a book, I'm on Audible nonstop. Like people are like, how do you do it? 4 kids, the business 9 to 5, and I'm always listening to something. I'm constantly learning. Invest in a conference, invest in a coach, get a mentor, whatever it is, invest in yourself. I still do. I probably spent about $30,000 of coaching this year for myself, so I can be a better coach for you as my client.
Along those lines, I've talked about it a little bit today as well as your confidence. Work on yourself, your mental capacity. Our subconscious mind controls everything. And hands down, there's a fantastic book. Please buy it, do Audible or whatever it's called. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. It is incredibly powerful, and it just goes to show our mind can control everything. Work on your mind, work on that. And then the other thing too is through the years of business, and then Michelle just alluded to, relationships. Work on your relationships, own your relationships, massage your relationships, do anything you need to do. Just continue to work on those relationships and bring value to those relationships, because the day after tomorrow, when you need to get some revenue, you need to build another business or something, it's gonna be your relationships that really kind of help you and take you to that next level. Yeah, I think those are the biggest two. And then don't be afraid to reach out to us, to anybody else, any of your peers. Don't worry about it. We're all going through shit, right? That's the way life is. And it's perfectly fine. We're all going through.
I'm gonna 100% echo all of that, because there's so much learning to do as a business owner. It never stops. I think success is really what you define of it. For me, success has been finally having access to the appropriate medical care, as well as the liberty to choose my schedule, what I do, and how I do it every single day of my life. I am super organized and keep notes so that my team and I are always on the same page and can also make each other. Another piece of advice: hire as soon as you see the opening. There are all these theories about how much money you need to have before you hire someone. That's also a systemic barrier against those of us who have not amassed wealth. Don't go wild, but also don't bring yourself down like the system expects you to. Tradition has been a liability, a threat, and a challenge. That has presented itself for me, but the healing center approach that I promote, as well as the ecosystem kind of work that we do, comes directly in tension with the world as it is. This presents both a challenge and an opportunity. In my case, I went for the opportunity, and how can my assets become a healthy contribution for collaboration and co-creation? In terms of advice, I learned to trust my gut later in life. If you cannot feel your gut and what it tells you, that's okay. But also talk about it with someone. I couldn't feel mine. And trust yourself. If it feels off, it's because it is.
Thank you guys so much for that. I also want to let the audience ask you guys any questions. I appreciate all those insights that you guys gave, just absolutely amazing. I'm wondering if there's anyone in the audience that has any questions, and do you need a microphone? Okay, I'll come to you.
This is over. This is a comment that I guess will lead to a question, but thank you all for sharing your stories. Thanks to the, alumni for doing this program. It's great that our students, present students, could hear what you said. Now, you didn't make this explicit, but what I heard from you, and each of you, is that each of you are trying to light the world on fire. Each of you is acting to better the world, to better your community. Each of you has that passion, that mission. And so what I'm getting at is that you didn't say this explicitly, but did you come to your Loyola experience? How would you say that the Loyola experience has shaped you? Because we're using the same terminology as our mission, our vision here at Loyola, and as our values. But in terms of each of your individual experiences, your own alumni, how would you say that the university has shaped who you are today?
Thank you for the question. Having the glory, right? I mean, it's kind of it's ingrained, and I come from the Jesuit background, Jesuit education from high school and through Loyola, just the men brothers, and that and understanding and that compassion to another human being. That's just been part of it, and coming through the studies and through the curriculum and the relationships you build through college, and they stay through you. So just that innate men brothers really just stuck with.
I think for me, I felt super prepared in the room And sometimes I still do, I walk into rooms and I'm like, how do people not think about this? Like, the critical thinking aspect is definitely huge. And so for me, it was really helpful. The second thing was, like I mean, said, the relationships. I'm a sister of Gamma Phi Omega International Sorority, and today we are so organized. Our groups are so organized. The network of partnership, the clients, all of this, it now comes back and serves.
Would you like to answer that question?
Absolutely. So the Loyola experience for me was very chaotic. And it definitely set me en route to create more citizens of the United States when I was approached in orientation and asked about my papers. Where are your papers? And it really was life-changing in a way that I didn't think it could be. Because it set me in a path of how can I make myself an agent of change so that people, no one is asked that question.
Thank you for that. I believe we have some online questions. I'm gonna pass it over to Nancy now. So she can represent the folks online.
Yes, I just have one, and this question is from Nikki Biggs. And Nikki would like to know, what advice would you give current students that you wish you had known when you were in school?
Good question. For me, as a financial coach, is definitely that. When I was at Loyola, I had a sense of entitlement. My dad had small business. And I was like, I don't need to put in for scholarship. My dad has like, well, you know, come junior year, finances turned. I quickly learned about loans and started taking out money. So really, one, to the students, put in for those scholarships. Don't be lazy. I consider myself, I was lazy at the time. There are so many opportunities, do the internships. But both of my jobs, I was a city investigator, and then with Homeland, there were both internships. That's how I got my foot in the door. Even if they're not paid, right? You're getting experience. Those partners, those networks, still today, I can tell you, I still talk to my first boss in the city. And so that's really critical to take those opportunities and those relationships. So those are the two things, but with the financial aid is just really knowing what you're signing. Like I thought, oh, I'm a law enforcement, I'm gonna get my loans forgiven, you know, that's what I thought, right? But when forgiveness came, I signed on loans. So that costed me $7,000 later. Thankfully, they're paid off, but definitely as students, talk to your financial aid advisor, get those scholarships, talk to somebody else and get help.
Fail over and over and over again. So you're tired of failing, and then you're gonna realize, okay, there's a different path. I have failed time and time again, and we continue to fail. It's part of life. Don't be afraid of failing. Just do it. Don't be afraid. Just do it. And if you got a product and it's not perfect, who cares? Put it out. The market is going to give you advice. They're going to tell you what they want to see. So yeah, just don't be afraid to fail and do it. And then last one, when you do have it and you've got your revenue moving, diversify. Find multiple revenue streams. Figure out a way to work with in your industry, or figure out another business, or whatever it may be. Figure out different revenue streams. You've heard us, all three of us, we have different revenue streams. It's years of experience in realizing multiple revenue streams. I didn't do that. I didn't do that years ago, and I got a business taken underneath me, rock bottom. If I would have multiple revenue streams, still rock bottom, but it would have been much easier to kind of get back up. So just think about that.
That was great advice. I'm just gonna say those were amazing, and I would only experiment as much as you can. Because that time doesn't, I know everyone says that time doesn't come back. It's just that level of lack of responsibility doesn't come back. And it's just waking up and not having anything to do or responsibility. I wish I had valued that more.
That is incredible. That is really good advice. Is there any other online questions?
Yes, I'll go to you. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that you guys, everyone here, especially you saying that you wrote a book, you know, not every day that happens. So congratulations. You must take a lot emotionally. Just traveling the world, seeing, you know, another culture, appreciate you sharing your life experience. And as well, you know, coming out emotionally, nothing more deeper. What I want to ask is, because what I'm trying to show you guys that I'm hitting a wall. There's you said habit. So what I'm trying to say is, personally for each of you, since I'm trying to pump you guys up, that's where I can succeed. Where did you find at that moment where you're like, dang, I can't go on, I can't go on, but I know that there's this one good habit. What was it? What was it that you want to hear? That you want somebody to be like, proud of it? All three of you guys. What was that one thing? Or constantly come back. I know I need to do this. Is it a word? Is it, we all want to hear it. I just want you guys to say it. So we all be proud of this.
I appreciate that, thank you. I think for me, it's that little thing in my head, the little person in my head that says, keep going, do what you need to do. Don't quit, because you quit, you regret it. And you quit, you start back at zero. Don't quit, keep moving. Keep moving, no matter what, how difficult it is, what happens, what challenges. If you just, and I have that because it's my innate nature, that my goal is to make sure everybody counts. So I know until that happens, I've got that click in me constantly doing it. And if I'm not doing it, it starts eating up at me and I have to get back to that goal.
For me, it's God. I'm a believer. For me, it's that reset when I go to church, when I worship, when those moments that I can't sleep or something is going on, open up the devotional, and for some reason it's always struck me. So for me, it's definitely God.
For me, it's breathing, and that little voice for me is telling me, you've been through worse. Just keep going, you've been through worse.
You've been through worse. That is the, I felt that. I appreciate you guys sharing that. I guess we should move on to the next question. I want somebody else in the audience, if they have any more questions that they want to ask before we transition to our last online question. All right, Nancy.
Representing the virtual community. So this question is actually from an anonymous attendee, and they would like to know, what's your strategy for staying ahead of the competition in your industry?
Good question.
Fail. No, research, right? Talk to your customers, talk to your suppliers, talk to your vendors, go to the trade shows. If you're here in the city of Chicago, we're very fortunate where it is massive city. There's trade shows almost every weekend in McCormick, depending on what your industry is. Get involved, talk to people, go to the social media. Well, we're LinkedIn and we're any other social circles, but really just get involved in your industry, do all the marketing, and just if you love what you do, you're mainly going to be around it at all times. And just breathe it, sleep it, eat it, live it. Because as an entrepreneur, when you're starting from scratch, it's going to overconsume, but you have to love what you do.
For me, it's the opposite. I don't look at other coaches really, or I feel like I'm unique, God created me unique. I know I'm not the coach for everyone, and I say this all the time. So I know that I attract the women that I'm supposed to be attracting. And I know the value that I can provide for each woman. So for me, I don't really see it like I'm competing with other people. I really don't have time. I'm a mother of four, I work at 9 to 5, so I really don't do those things. So it's really just knowing the client, right? Providing the value that I need to provide for them. And I don't know, I guess I really don't feel, I'm not in that place where I definitely know my value, my worth. And I know that I'm attracting the woman that I'm.
Yeah, I don't have a strategy for staying ahead of the competition at all, because they're not my competition. They're potential partners. How can what you do and what I do come and add substance multilaterally? And that's a segment in my ecosystem.
So collaboration, research and initiative, And then you mentioned you just being unique, like you know what your product or service is and being confident in that. That this is incredible. I don't know if anybody else has any questions, but this has been super great. Anybody else in the audience or online have any more questions? Audience? Perfect. Well, with that being said, we'll wrap it up. Again, thank you so much for joining today, for joining LULAB, everybody online. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for showing up in person. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause. No, anything, right? Okay, if you guys want to add these folks on LinkedIn, if you guys want to like say your first and last name, maybe they could add one if that's okay with you guys. Is that cool?
Michelle Velasquez, Berrios Gutierrez.
Camilo Ferro.
Yo soy Iris C. Gutierrez Berrios. Iris C. Gutierrez Berrios.
Appreciate it. Y'all can add me too. I'm here to be somebody and why not expand the network? Everybody's a collaborator. We're all here to help everybody out. Appreciate y'all coming out tonight. Take care. If you are following us on Instagram or social media, it's Loyola Latino Alumni Board. Search us, Google us, add us on LinkedIn. Nancy, anything else you want to add?
Yes, Linktree, if you're interested in joining us as a committee member or as a board member, there is a form to fill out on Linktree, so you can also find us there.
Incredible. Thank you for everybody at LULAB for making this happen. Give a shout out over there. You're freaking awesome. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.